because vision is always far ahead than, how fast you can build, right? So you're always thinking 5 steps ahead, and the engineering is always catching up to that, right? And AI has changed that tremendously, right? So earlier, if we were building a product, it would take a lot more time to get it to the market, but now it is obviously much faster, right? And then we have like a brilliant vision of what we believe would help offices, and we feel that if only there was a magic wand, I would just want to build so much faster. So that doesn't solve the GTM. I know that it doesn't solve GTM, right? You could have a great product, and without really taking it to the market, no one is really going to know about it. But essentially, I feel if we have really high value driving product, at the end of the day, people would buy it, right? Then it's only about just being in front of them and showing them.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business of Learning podcast. My name is Joao Camargo, and my guest here today is Harsh Bansal, who is the co-founder of Remedo and ConvertLens. Harsh, thank you so much for being here today, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, thank you for your time, and thank you for inviting me.
100%. And I'm super excited to have this conversation because of many things that we spoke about in our first chat as well. So why don't we start off with you sharing a little bit more about yourself, a little bit more about the companies and the problem that you guys solve.
So yeah, I'm Harsh. I'm one of the co-founders of the company. We started Remedo around 10 years back, and three of us found this company together. One of them is a medical doctor. I have a business and marketing background. And our third co-founder is a complete tech guy. And all three of us came together to solve problems in healthcare. How can we help individual offices and healthcare providers run their business better? That's how the journey started. In last 10 years, it has evolved. We right now work with close to 8,000 healthcare offices across the globe. We're majorly in 5 different countries. We started from India and then expanded to US, Canada, UK, and Singapore. That has been our journey. The way we generally like to define ourselves is a tech company helping offices with marketing, rather than thinking of ourselves as a marketing company helping with using technology to help offices, right? So we are a technology first company that ways. We've been part of Google's Accelerator program. We've been part of Meta's WhatsApp incubation program, and happy to add any value to the listeners here. On the personal front, married, father to twin daughters.
Awesome. Twins.
Yep. Thankfully, daughters. So, yeah, they're 4 years old. So apart from work, they kind of take all my time, mind and heart. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I don't have any kids yet, but it's something that I definitely, people sometimes ask, hey, how many kids do you want? And I'm like, I don't know, like a whole football team. Like if I can,
after you have the first one, you'll realize it's not that easy.
Exactly.
I don't know how those people manage it. I see people who, more power to them. And I know I love kids, but handling two is a handful. I have serious respect for people, who have 3, 4 and beyond. I don't know how do they manage.
Yeah, that's so funny.
They've got some superhuman skills.
I know, yeah. And I always say, the only reason why I give that answer, I'm like, hey, if sometimes I want to play soccer, I don't want to have to call on anyone. I'm just like, yo, kids, let's go. But yeah, I know that would be it. That would definitely be hectic. But Harsh, thank you so much for sharing some of that context there. I would love to just a final cherry on top here. What are some of the most usual offices, medical offices and clinics that you guys like to work with?
So generally, as a company, we've always been small and medium-sized offices focused, whether it is an individual office or a group of offices. But our work has always been focused on private offices rather than tertiary or hospital chains, right? That has been our focus area, because our goal has always been how can we help individual doctors and healthcare providers run their business better, right? Hospitals generally have a more professional setup or leadership teams, right? Chains also do have that. Healthcare chains also have that, or dental chains also have that kind of team. But our focus has always been how can we bring up each individual offices, right?
Sure.
Operations is very different, right? And most of our clients are dental offices because they generally form a large portion of individual offices in US, the biggest would be dental, right?
Mhm.
And that's why the largest portion of who we serve would be dental offices across the other countries as well, US, UK, Canada, or Singapore. In India, we do have all kinds of offices, right? So because India is very privately driven market,
Uh-huh.
uh, even it's out of pocket market, it's not an insurance market,
Mm.
and most doctors, even super specialists, would probably have a private practice as well, right? So that's how we evolved into a company which helps individual practice
Mm.
owners.
That makes sense. Thank you for sharing that as well. And talk to me a little bit more about how a lot of your guys' customers, partners, I'm not sure how you guys refer to them. How do they usually find out about you guys? Where does that initial step come from?
In different markets, it is different, right? But just to give a context, um, most of our current clients would either find us through referrals or partnerships, and we do participate in some trade shows, here and there. But most of our current set of offices find us either through someone who's already using it and they refer to the other client,
Mm-hmm.
or they would find us through one of our channel partners,
Mm-hmm.
and a large number of people have started finding us now online directly
Mm-hmm.
through our own SEO and marketing efforts.
Mm-hmm.
We are not pumping in any money towards any paid marketing for ourselves yet.
Oh, interesting.
Uh, and it has generally been organic. And the only place we would otherwise invest apart from partnerships would be at the trade shows, right?
Uh-huh.
Because no matter how the digital really evolves, at the end of the day, people like to meet one on one. And then,
Sure.
even though we are a digital company, we never discount the fact of power of being in front of a customer and having one on
Yeah.
one conversations with them. So
Yeah.
yeah, those
Yeah.
are the main channels through which we find most of our uh, new clients.
I see. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And for sure, I think I would say 99% of everyone that I've spoken with on the podcast, they do some form of conferences, events, and we all know the power of that. But it is curious to hear that you guys actually are not doing any form of paid marketing, paid traffic online. Is there any specific reason for that?
Yeah, so for a marketing company to be not doing that is a little surprising.
Yeah.
But the fact is that it's different, right? I mean, it's a competitive market, right? And any marketing space, whether it is dental or whether it is any other e-commerce or any other brands, all of them,
Mhm.
mostly all industries do have a lot of competition, right? So there's no one single provider doing that. No matter how different you are delivering the solution, at the end of the day, every office is probably putting you into the same category, right?
Hmm.
Um, Competing with everyone else on that marketing keywords or Google Ads is essentially probably not the best way to utilize our uh, marketing
Mhm.
dollars.
Sure.
We uh, we have always been very frugal, right? In that sense, and I want to be very careful about where we invest our monies on, and if there are
Sure.
any ROIs on that. In fact,
Yeah.
that is one thing that I tell all my clients as well, right? And in fact, um, because our mindset is like that, if I'm spending a single dollar, is that single dollar really working for me? And
Mhm.
even in our marketing efforts, we try to deliver that kind of value to our clients,
Mm.
right? And and most of the times, marketing agencies also always have a problem that they can, uh, while they are able to drive leads, they're able to drive traffic, and they can track till that point of time where they kind of become paralyzed. Is what happened to those leads once the leads get transferred to the office?
Yeah.
Are they
Yeah.
really are the offices really following through, and are they do they have processes? Do they have SOPs to bring each of those leads in, right?
Yeah.
And we realize there's a big opportunity gap that exists, and that's why
Mhm.
we created ConvertLens, right? So ConvertLens is born out of all of our learning from Remedo, which is focused on marketing. ConvertLens is all about how can those marketing leads really translate into actual patients coming to the
Yeah.
doctor's office,
That's
converting
the goal.
into that's the goal, right? And
Right.
ConvertLens is that's why it's an analytics and a CRM solution specifically built for dental first, and then we can go into the other healthcare providers market. But right now, it's very focused on dental because there is no HIPAA compliant solution which integrates into the practice management systems, tracking all the marketing channels, looking at which marketing channels bringing in what kind of leads. Are those leads really converting into appointments? Are those appointments really converting into patients coming into the office? And what kind of treatment are the patients really getting done? So essentially, if you spend $100 on marketing, what did it really bring in channel wise, breaking it down so that you can track each of those leads and then really see if there is a value that you're creating out of all your spends, right? And that's the learning. Whatever we had from Remedo, we put everything back in ConvertLens to build that product.
Yeah, for sure. 100, and I completely agree with you. I think companies that don't have that clarity are kind of just throwing money at the wall and hoping that some of it sticks, right? But having that clarity up until the ad, like this specific ad, which is something that we've done a lot in the past too, is like, I know that this specific ad, this specific variation, this specific copy, this is what's generating all of it, all the revenue, as opposed to the other one that we thought was great, but not was great. Like, never get emotionally attached to what we think or what we don't think. It's just focus on the data. Just focus on the data. And that's where you're able to really leverage the data in the right way to then, of course, grow the company as well as possible. And it's interesting to hear, because you mentioned a little bit, and I just want to reiterate here just to make sure I understood that correctly. You mentioned the competitive side of AdWords and Google and the things that can just sound the same all over the place. You didn't mention Meta though. Is that something that you guys have also never tried, or?
So we have right now, not just for ourselves, but even for clients. Meta is a big hit or miss, especially in dental, right? Because you're not really targeting a specific, um, yeah, so Google Ads is more specific to the intention, right? Meta is more open, and you're trying to target demographic and interest areas, and you're trying to target the audience who would probably be interested in your treatments. With Meta, what we have found is that you really need strong filtering mechanisms and need follow-ups compared to Google, where the intent of the leads are much stronger compared to Meta. Right.
Different demographic.
Yeah. So, and then what we have seen from experience, Meta is has worked better for more non-local brands where you can target a larger number of audience. Right. And because the power of social lies in volumes. Right. So if you are marketing a D2C brand, for example, or if you're marketing a brand across the country, then you have a much larger population to go after. Right. Dentistry or any healthcare provider is a very local market, right? So by definition itself, your population is much smaller that you can target, right? And in that population, people who are probably active on social, and then they have an interest or an intent for the treatments that you want to focus on, right? So it keeps on narrowing down your audience, and Meta just doesn't really do well when you keep narrowing down the audience a lot, right? So I'm not saying that, Meta doesn't work. It does, right? And I know a lot of companies have done really well with that. And there are a lot of agencies which are driving a lot of great results for some of the dental offices. But the kind of offices that we have generally worked with, we found Meta is not the best utilization of their marketing dollars, right? Our biggest, no matter what, is still organic, right? So my biggest focus for any office is always how can we help them rank on Google, and how could we help them rank their website. And in fact, if we do things right and focus on the fundamentals of the SEO, they start ranking even on the AI engines, right? And we've tracked that for most of the offices that we work with, even without really charging them extra for AEO, right? And which is the new word, AEO and the GEOs, right? And we don't even charge them anything extra for that, because again, belief is, if your fundamentals is very, very strong, because even the AI engines are picking up all of that content from the same sources which the search engines are picking it up from, right?
Sure.
So they're not really created new areas to pick up information from. So if your fundamentals are right, even they'll pick up
that's
the same set of sources.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I definitely have I believe I have a different perspective on the Meta side of things, but I would love to later after our podcast even ask you a little bit more about that. But that's interesting. And talk to me. So thank you for sharing that too. It's always great to understand how other different leaders are thinking too. And I'd love to shift the conversation a little bit here, Harsh, into Remedo and ConvertLens themselves. I know that they are separate companies, but they work in conjunction. So when you're looking at the growth of those companies, something I always like to highlight in this podcast is that from outsiders looking in, business sometimes can look like sunshines and rainbows, but we all know that that's not true. So
Yeah.
I always love to ask about challenges. When you're looking at the goals and the things you want to achieve, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face when trying to acquire more customers, grow the revenue, and be able to just have more predictable revenue coming to, more predictable growth for the business as a whole?
Yeah. So at different stages of our journey, the challenges have been very different, right? And I know that every entrepreneur has different have different experiences and different stories to tell. I'm sure probably almost everyone has near death experiences, right? We had it more than a few times, right? In terms of would the company really survive and make it the next month, and we had those experiences. At every point of time, the challenges were different. But talking about the current scenario, right? So we started our US journey 3 years back, right? And the challenges at that point of time was how do we, as an Indian company, and we started our US journey at that point in time. We were just in India. How would we reinvent ourselves and appeal to a totally different audience, build credibility in that market, get customers to believe that these guys can actually do it, and the technology that they're talking about makes some sense, right? Even 3 years back, AI-led marketing was not really big in terms of the buzzword. Right now, everyone to not leave out AI, right? And now
No,
we
it's too
started
much.
talking about now it's too much, right? So we started talking about that when we entered that market, because we wanted to bring um, uh, that technology into dental specific field, and we did that. At that point of time, the only thing that we could do, which made sense, was to actually land up at a trade show and show your face, be in front of people, and actually believe that people would, once they talk to you and see what you can do, they would see the authenticity of the whole thing and probably trust you, right? So at that point of time, for us, the challenge was that how do we get people to trust and see that there is some reality to it, right? Once we had those initial few customers and we had the case studies to talk about, then the challenges obviously shifted. And then instead of talking about getting the first few customers in that market, then it became about how to get to the first 100 and then how to get to the next 100. And the conversation keeps on changing, and how do you keep scaling? And now, how can you have more predictable way of getting customers? And what we realize that one fixed channel cannot do that for you, right? Because at any given point of time, if I don't have a conference this month, what happens, right? If my partners don't deliver this month, then what happens, right? Not all customers are sitting with open referrals all the time, right? Obviously, with scale, the benefit is that because if you have multiple channels, kind of bringing in something, then you can rely almost always that at least one of the channels in a particular month would bring in the numbers in, so you can meet your goals, right? And it is about diversifying, right? And I mean, the funny thing is that as a company, we were not even focusing on our own SEO for some time, right? Even though we are in marketing and we're doing that day in, day out for all our customers, we were not doing it for ourselves. It is like, car mechanics don't have good cars themselves, right? So that's what we were doing. And then we realized that, we can't live with that, right? Anyone who's going to look at our website and see that we have not worked on our own SEO would not really like that and believe that we could do it. And then we started working on our SEO, and then obviously we know the fundamentals, right? And when we started working on our own website, we had 10x impressions within the first 3 months itself, and then the leads started flowing in there. So now even our own SEO efforts have become a predictable way for us to drive certain number of leads organically on our own website, through our own websites, and that's one of the channels, right? Again, not putting all our eggs in any one single basket and relying on multiple channels at any point of time.
And it's great to understand that trajectory as well, and where you guys are at now. if you're looking at, hey, we've done a lot, we've built on a lot, we've adapted a lot. But where you are right now, if I were to ask you, if you had a magic wand that you could just wave, Harsh, to just solve one challenge in the company, that would then allow you to hit all your client acquisition goals, all your growth goals, all your revenue goals. You wave that wand, focus one thing. It's either, I don't know, whatever it might be for you internally, if it's hiring, if it's marketing, if it's conversations, whatever it might be. What's the one thing you'd like to solve right now to get to the next level?
So it's difficult to put a pinpoint on just one aspect of it, but
Yeah.
I think the goal for us has always been how do we drive more value to the customers, right? And um, to anyone who builds, I think they, at least I feel so, would be, but if you could just build faster, right? Because vision is always far ahead than, you know, how fast you can build, right? So you're always thinking 5 steps ahead, and the engineering is always catching up to that, right? And
Yeah.
AI has changed that tremendously, right? So earlier, if we were building a product, it would take a lot more time to get it to the market, but now it is obviously much faster, right?
Yes.
And then we have like a brilliant vision of what we believe would help offices. Um, and we feel that, if only there was a magic wand, I would just want to build so much faster,
Go faster.
right? I know
Interesting.
that
I like
won't solve the GTM. I don't, I know that it doesn't solve GTM, right? You could have a great product, and without really taking it to the market, no one is really going to know about it. But essentially, I feel if we have really high value driving product, at the end of the day, people uh, would buy it, right? Then it's only about just being in front of them and showing them that there is a value for them.
Sure. Yeah, and then building the right team around it for sure. No, interesting. And then I have one final question here for you, Harsh. And this question is actually not a question from me. It's a question from our last guest to you, and they had absolutely no idea who you were.
Okay.
Sometimes this question doesn't align with the conversation at all. This time, it actually, I think, aligned very perfectly with something that you said earlier on. So here's the question. What was a time in business when you thought it was all over, but it wasn't?
There were so many times, man, not just once. In fact, just before we started, uh, we pivoted to actually helping offices with their marketing. This would be probably around 5 years back. And while we had some large pharma clients that we were working with, and my daughters were just born, and we realized that while we have, um, uh, these great projects in works, and we don't have money in the bank, so it was crazy, right? And that was a tough time. And then uh, God's grace, we did manage to get out of that. Um, the project's revenue kicked in. We got some of the customers to pay a bit of advance. Our investors pitched in, and then things came together, right? And then,
Yeah, you're
uh,
resourceful.
uh, yeah, I mean, I think
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
it's a lot more. I don't know if people give enough credit to luck, but there is a factor of that. Um,
Mm.
and obviously, luck doesn't come without the hard work. That's what we've realized, right? So uh, even with hard work, it is possible to go wrong. But it just makes it, probably the chances of you becoming luckier increases if you're working really hard and trying everything under the sun. Uh,
Mm.
and I think almost every entrepreneur just does that, right? I mean, it's just like your baby, right? So you'll end of the day, you'll do whatever it takes to
Keep
make
you
sure that
alive.
keep it alive. Yeah,
Phenomenal.
first alive
Harsh.
and then thrive. So yeah,
Exactly. Harsh, thank you so much for your time. This has been such a great talk. Where should
yeah.
people go
Thank
if
you.
they want to learn a little bit more about yourself and a little bit more about Remedo and ConvertLens?
Yeah, so they can always find me on LinkedIn, and I just go by Harsh Bansal there. And they could visit our website. So it's remedo.io, remedo.io. And they can learn about ConvertLens on convertlens.com. It's just Convert Lens. It's basically how can you look at your conversions better, convertlens.com. So yeah,
Amazing. I will leave as many links as I can down below here if you want to check those
thank
out.
you so
And if
much,
you
man.
enjoyed For sure. Yeah. If you're listening to this episode up until now, you enjoyed this conversation, you want to hear more conversations like this, please also hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next episode. Harsh, thanks again for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.